Hey Internet, it's me. So I did actually want to make a video about a video game, and I realize how many of my videos start with me saying that. But this time I have a good excuse. I don't know if you've noticed from the lighting being a little different, or there being a lot more shadow in the background than normal. I have no power. Actually, that's not true. There are like 2 rooms in my house that have power, and then some of the main important stuff, like the furnace and the fridge, those are on now. But my circuit breaker is bad. House doesn't have power. It's a thing. So basically, I can't review any video games because I can't play any video games because I have no electricity. Even editing this video would have been a nightmare if I had gameplay footage because I couldn't power my capture card. So, what I'm instead going to do, because the Switch 2 Direct is a couple weeks away now, I'm going to talk about that and what I hope to see and then how realistic the things I'm hoping for actually are. So let me first, I guess, just start off with things I really hope we see. Now the first one is obvious, and that's more information about Mario Kart 9. We know Mario Kart 9 is coming, we saw it in the trailer. So I'm just hoping we get more information, and specifically, I'm hoping they make an announcement similar to like they did with Smash Bros. Ultimate, where they say, everyone's here! Because otherwise, if we have to go for Mario Kart 8, which is 96 courses and, I don't know, like 40 racers or whatever it is, if we have to backtrack and go down to just like 30 tracks and a dozen racers, like, that's going to feel like a huge downgrade. Like, I know it's on a new system and it's presumably a new engine, although probably not, honestly. It's probably just the same engine with a slight facelift, but I don't know, it would be a big backtrack. Like, I'd rather just keep playing 8. So at this point, unless they're doing something groundbreaking, like completely changing up gameplay or whatever, I really think it just needs to be bigger. And really, more importantly here, I think Nintendo's at a point now where if they're not going to be competitive in the hardware front, like if they're not going to try and push the technological boundaries and have just the most, you know, groundbreaking competitive like graphics and processing speed and all of that, then they need to just focus on the most game content and just the best games. And Nintendo does, for being as crap of a company as they are, they do make the best games. So in this instance, Mario Kart, I feel like what they should do is just create the base game, whether it's 8 or this new one 9 or whatever it is, and then just keep pumping out content. Not like a live service game where, you know, it's always online and they just add seasons. Like, I don't want that garbage. But just have a base model and then continue growing on it just indefinitely. You know, Mario Kart 8 didn't need to be replaced. They could have ported Mario Kart 8 to the Switch 2 and then just continued to add more stuff. You know, they could have added another 48 tracks and maybe crossed over with like a couple other franchises. Because they had a few crossovers with Animal Crossing and Zelda and all of that. You know, they could have done some with Pokemon or F-Zero. Well, they did a couple with F-Zero, but they could have done more. They could have done Star Fox. They could have done Kirby. I mean, they have the Gourmet Race. It's part of Kirby. So basically, what I'm hoping for with Mario Kart 9, to get back on track here, is just more. Like, I just want it to be a big game, and I'm hoping they reveal that it's just absolutely massive. So yeah, that's my want for that. I guess next up is Ocarina of Time. I want an HD remake, and I mean a real remake. Not like that nonsense where they re-released Mario 64, but it's just a poor emulation with crappy controls. I mean a real, honest-to-goodness remake. Like a whole new high-def 3D engine, and they recreate every asset and every level, and just from the ground up, they make the game over again. Because, as we all know, Ocarina of Time is widely seen as, by a lot of people, the best Zelda game. I would argue A Link to the Past is better, but Ocarina would be my number 2. So, it's an amazing game, Everyone loves it. The fan base would go crazy for it. I mean, people were excited about HD remakes of Wind Waker. And let's be real, the Zelda Boat Simulator sucks. So, it would go over massively. Everyone would love it. And more importantly, it would give us a break from the stupid-ass cartoon graphics from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I'm ready to get back to, I'm not going to say realistic graphics, but less cartoony and childish and just a better-looking game. Also, I guess while I'm on the Zelda train, another thing that I would really, really love and hope to see in the Switch 2 Direct is a proper sequel to Hyrule Warriors. We did get Age of Calamity. That doesn't count. That wasn't Hyrule Warriors 2. That was Breath of the Wild 1.5. It didn't feel the same as Hyrule Warriors, like it was a Musou game, but all the menus were different. They completely got rid of adventure and challenge modes. Just everything was different and in the not best way. Hyrule Warriors, it touched all the storylines. It added in some new characters. It had its own original story that was actually fun to play through. It had just really fun weapon sets for each character and good move sets. It had all the different costumes and things to unlock. It had the golden Skulltulas to give you the extra challenge maps. There was so much. I still haven't 100% of that game. And I've played every iteration and played them a lot, but there's just so much to get, the gold medal on every adventure map and to unlock every Skulltula and all the weapons and all the costumes. It's a lot, and I mean that in a good way. There's so much to do. The replay value is forever. And we need a real sequel. And I know the first one had a lot of content, and it touched most of the games. But there's been a bunch of new stuff since then, All the characters from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom could be pulled into the games now as playable characters. Likewise, Princess Zelda could have a whole new weapon set to go along with, oh my god, I've already forgot what it's called. The Wisdom game. The one where she has the wand and you don't actually get to battle at all, and then the boss monster is fought by Link and not the character that you played as the whole time, which is crap. But they could put that in there. Also, if Nintendo could stop being Nintendo and get their heads out of their ass for a minute and actually pretend that they like their own fans, they can embrace the meme and the in-game shop where you buy items or you do blacksmithing to improve your weapons or change the abilities they have. Morshu could be behind the counter for that. Everyone would go apeshit for that. That would be hysterical, and, a new wave of memes would happen. There's so much more they could do. Even just with what they have, without having to create new characters or branch out much as far as the story goes. Just using other stuff from the existing IP that they didn't utilize the first time around, they could do a ton. And I would love to see that. I would love another Hyrule Warriors game that just maybe performed even better. So when you're on two-player mode, each screen sees more than 4 enemies at a time. Maybe they could render more enemies on screen at once. Maybe make some of the maps slightly bigger or just more varied. There's cool stuff they could do with a sequel. And considering the fact we almost didn't even get the original in the US because they didn't think there was a market for it, and then it did so well that they reprinted it on the 3DS and the Switch, proves that there is a market and people do want this game. Americans do like Musou games, and we love Zelda in a Musou game. So I hope we get a sequel. That would be amazing. Another thing that and this is one I honestly am expecting. A lot of those other ones I mentioned aren't super realistic. Mario Kart, maybe. Honestly, as much as I love it, Hyrule Warriors 2, I doubt they're going to announce. We might get one down the line, but I don't think it would be a launch title. Ocarina, maybe. If they're smart, they would, but Nintendo statistically or historically has not been. But one that I think has a very real possibility is a new Animal Crossing. When the first one came out, it was the perfect timing for that game, because it happened right as the pandemic was starting, and everyone wanted to forget about the world and just stay at home and be a little more comfortable. You know, they couldn't go out and be a good little capitalist. They couldn't go socialize, or they didn't want to socialize and risk themselves. You know, they were basically trapped at home and a little scared, a little afraid, a little burned out from the world, and they just needed an escape. And then Animal Crossing came along, and it was just that perfect cozy game experience to give them the escapism they needed. And since then, cozy games have completely taken off. Like, you've always had Harvest Moon, and, you know, the spin-off series, Rune Factory, and Story of Seasons, but, you know, you saw a lot of indie stuff like Stardew Valley really took off, or Dave the Diver. You know, Disney made their own with Dreamlight Valley. Square made their JRPG spin on cozy games with Farmagia, or Farmagia, however it's pronounced. Sanrio, the people behind Hello Kitty, who previously had their characters in Animal Crossing, went on to make their own. You know, there's been so many cozy games. If you look through indie games on Steam, you can find dozens, if not hundreds. Like, cozy games really exploded. And it's funny because the Switch 2 is also going to be coming out at a time where people are a little scared, a little worried. The world seems to be on fire for some people. They maybe don't want to talk to other folks around them for various reasons. You know, they probably want to stay home and don't really want to support capitalism. We're basically in the same scenario we were in last time. And I think Animal Crossing New Horizon 2, so Old Horizon, I think it would do really well. I think it would provide the exact same escapism that New Horizon gave people. I think it would sell just as well as that one did. And plus, Isabelle's adorable, and we all need more adorable things in our life right now. So, I definitely hope to see an Animal Crossing announcement. And now, this is another one I'm going to say that I want that's not realistically going to happen. But it could, and so that's why I'm saying it. I want Nintendo to give us a new Star Fox. And I don't mean Star Fox Adventures. I don't mean whatever that guard game they did was. I mean Star Fox. A rail shooter. I love rail shooters. Ever since I first played Pyramid Patrol on the Laser Active, which, by the way, my Laser Active died, and it's very, very sad because it's a $1,000 console. I loved that game. It was like my favorite thing. I had never played a game like that before. I did not play the original Star Fox on Super Nintendo until well after I'd played Pyramid Patrol. So that was my first experience of like a rail shooter type thing. I had played first-person shooters, even like some space-based ones, but never where, you know, you follow this predefined track and the enemies come at you and you know, shoot them down as they come. And it was just, it was a different experience for me, and it was really fun. And when I played Pyramid Patrol, you know, I know when I say it now, most of you don't even know what I'm talking about. And even at the time, a lot of people didn't. But it was a 3D game on a Laserdisc, and things rendered well. Like, it was decent-looking 3D for the time, obviously. You know, the end of Spawn looked good when it first came out. But it was a decent-looking game, and it was just crazy. I'd never seen something like that. We didn't have 3D like that. So when I played it, I was just blown away. Like, it was the most amazing thing that I had ever experienced. And then later, I would go on to experience, you know, Panzer Dragoon on the Saturn. And then Star Fox 64, which was obviously amazing. And I really was just taken with the genre. Like, these rail shooters like that just blew me away. I wanted more. And, you know, I would eventually discover in arcades things like House of the Dead and the myriad just first-person rail shooters that are in arcades now. But none of those are ever going to beat, like, Panzer Dragoon or Star Fox for me. I mean, Pyramid Patrol is the OG as far as I'm concerned, but those other two are just major franchises and made me fall in love with the genre, and I want more. And Nintendo really seems to have just kind of forgotten that that franchise exists. Like, we get Fox, Falco, and Wolf in Smash, but we haven't gotten a Star Fox game in forever. You know, on the Wii U, we got that Star Fox Guard, and it didn't do well. Um, but when's the last time they did anything before that? Or since? Like, they've forgotten that franchise entirely. And I really would love to see it come back. You know, with the capabilities of the consoles now, the game could be massive. They could have, you know, dozens of levels. Like in Mario 64, you had the branching paths. You didn't necessarily have to do every level. And then there were like secret levels and secret exits to each level, and like it was a whole thing. And they could do that now, but twice as much. Like they don't have to upscale the levels themselves. Each one doesn't have to be 50 minutes long with, you know, 4 sub bosses and all this crazy stuff. They could be the same length as they were in the Nintendo 64. Just give us more of them. I think that could be amazing. I really think it's a fun thing that no one else is doing. Like, if you really think on it, when's the last time you saw a new rail shooter? Probably a while, because no one's making them anymore. So Nintendo could be the ones to bring the genre back. And not just bring it back, but bring it back with, honestly, what's one of the stronger contenders in the genre. So I think it's crazy that they're not capitalizing on that. And I hope that they do. I hope that we, you know, see that and that they could bring it back and just give us something fun and different. Now, realistically, there are some things I know we're going to see. We're probably going to see more about Metroid Prime. Which is fine, you know. They're good games. They're popular for a reason. People want them for a reason. They are good. We'll most likely get another Super Mario Brothers, which obviously it's their flagship franchise. Like, no one's going to complain about a new Mario game. People love Mario. Nintendo's as big as they are for a reason, and that reason is mostly Mario. One thing that I've seen a lot of rumors about and people talking about, and it would make sense, is Mario Maker 3, except it would be Mario Maker 3D. Because not only have they kind of used up all the 8 and 16-bit iterations of Mario, so, you know, the next logical step is Mario 64, but also we have the capability now. Like, they can make a 3D map editor. In fact, with the Joy-Cons, I'm pointing like you can see what's off-screen here. You can't, but my consoles are in the shadows. The Joy-Cons serve as mice. If you turn them on their side, you can, you know, move them around like this and click and stuff. So that gives you the interface to click and drag and piece together a 3D map. So Mario Maker 3D makes sense both with the naming scheme and with the capabilities of the new console. So I'm sure we'll see that. I'm sure the rumors are correct. I'm sure the predictions are accurate there, and I'm sure that's what we'll see. And I welcome it. I think that would be amazing. You know, there are a few mods out there for Mario 64. Waluigi's Taco Stand is a big one that probably comes to mind for anyone that likes homebrew and ROM hack and like modded stuff. So it'd be cool to see with what people could do with these tools. Because that's always been the thing. Like, ROM hacks are not new. I've been playing ROM hacks for decades. But by releasing Mario Maker, they give everyone access to these tool sets. Before, if you wanted to do a ROM hack, there was a lot of knowledge involved. Like, excuse me. Even for the ones where someone would eventually make a tool, because people did make tools for some. Super Mario World, for example, got a fairly easy to use, like click and drag and drop kind of like tool. But if you wanted to make a good ROM hack, it wasn't as simple as just changing the layout of the level. You know, you were creating your own sprites. You were remaking the music. You were adding a new power-up or changing certain things in the physics engine. Like, you really had to go all out, and that required programming. Like, you had to basically be a developer to do that. I have a ROM hack I think I may have talked about a long time ago on the channel here, Mario Adventure for the NES, and one of the things they did in the game is they created a day and night cycle as well as weather. And every time you enter a level, it will change as you progress, and it will go from day to night, and every so often it'll be raining or snowing when you go on a level, and those will change the physics. It'll not only change the color palette of everything on the screen, but at night there's lower light, the draw distance isn't as far, if I remember correctly, and you don't see certain things. And then when it's like raining or snowing, the ground is more slippery, so your stopping distance is longer. Like, those are the kinds of changes that really made ROM hacks stick out. And it's stuff like that that, for the longest time, you only got from like these professional developer level programmers. But then Mario Maker came along, and it just gave you these tool sets that were so powerful and did so much. You could create not just your own maps, but change like which games aspects of it pulled from. You could change how enemies behaved by like adding other enemies or adding power-ups to them or doing certain things. Like, it really gave everyone the ability to create, and so we just got so much content out of it. And I would love to see what Mario Maker 3 would bring to the table by giving us that same tool set for a new generation of Mario games. I think that could be really, really cool. I think that alone is probably not a console seller, but I think that would be a big draw for a lot of people. So even if it's not a launch title, I bet that gets announced and follows the console shortly afterward. Also, one thing, I know this is controversial because every time I bring it up, people get mad at me, but I really hope that this is the generation where Nintendo finally stops being dicks and gives us achievements. And now I understand, not everyone likes achievements. I get that. For the love of God, I know. I have been told every time that I say I do like them, how many people hate them, because having a extra goal in the game somehow ruins the game for people. But for those of us that aren't idiots, it's an additive thing. If you don't like it, great. Ignore them. Don't chase them down. Don't get a complete set. No one's going to make you. It's fine. But if you do like them, having them in there improves the experience for you. Not only do you get to play the game, which is fun in itself, but now you have these little milestones, and each time you hit one, you feel accomplished. So for the folks out there with ADHD or the many various forms of autism or whatever else can go wrong in a person's brain, this lets them feel productive. It lets them feel like they accomplished something. It gives them that little microdose of the happy feeling in the brain, and it makes them glad that they played. And I know, that sounds like a dumb reason to include something, but it's not. Like, that's a big deal for a lot of people, especially as you get older and become an adult. And let's be real, Nintendo is kind of doing the same thing as Disney, where they're essentially a nostalgia company now, and they're not targeting kids anymore. They're targeting us adults. They're targeting the people that grew up with these franchises and still want to play these same franchises. It's why we get so many remakes and sequels. But because we're all adults now, our time is limited. We all have jobs. A lot of us have kids or spouses or just obligations outside of sitting in a room and playing games. I have every freaking video game someone could ever want to play. I play video games maybe 4 hours a week. Like, I rarely touch them, and I have all of them. And there are people with more responsibilities than me. So, if you want people to really play your games, give them stuff they can do fast. And by including achievements, if I put a couple hours into a Zelda game, or Mario RPG, or any kind of game like that that's a longer story mode that you have to spend a lot of time with, having those achievement milestone type things, it makes you feel good and feel like you're progressing, and it also gives you a good stopping point, because sometimes you need one, If you find that rare item, or you hit X percentage of all the collectibles in the game, or you beat that mini-boss, or whatever it is you do, and that achievement pops up, you're like, oh, cool, I did a thing, that's great, I feel good, I've only been playing for half an hour, but I accomplished something, and now, that shows my profile, I can look at it and be like, yeah, I did the thing. And it makes it more consumable, and it's good for, people to justify wasting the time playing video games. Also, another great reason to have them is that sometimes they motivate you to play stuff you wouldn't normally play, or play it in a way that you wouldn't normally play it. And I don't just mean the achievement hunters that want to get 100% on everything. That's not what I mean. Those people are a bit extreme. I just mean like Link to the Past is one of my top 5 favorite games. It's amazing. I've played it a billion times. I've gotten every heart in the game before. I've gotten all the optional sub-weapons. I've done all the things. But if someone who wasn't me, who likes Zelda, but maybe isn't obsessed with that one particular Zelda game, they're probably happy just to get to the end of the Dark World and beat Ganon. You know, you've completed the game. You've beaten it. You get the game over screen. You get the victory music. You've won. Yay! However, if there are achievements, maybe they'll see that, oh, here's this achievement saying collect the 3 medallions. Well, I found one of the medallions, but I never found the other 2. Maybe I should go look for those. You know, I'm already playing. I've done pretty good in the game, but I want to find this extra little thing. Or maybe there's an achievement for finding every heart piece. And so people will explore more. You know, they'll go in all of the dungeons instead of just the necessary ones. You know, they'll start trying to run into every tree to see if the top opens and they can go inside. It's those kinds of things that just... it makes people play the game more just because they want to see the stuff they missed. And again, this doesn't take away from folks that don't want to do that. If you just want to beat the game and win, great. Play the game to the end, beat it, get the victory screen, and call it a day. You don't have to get all the achievements. They're entirely optional, and in the end of the day, they mean nothing. They don't give you real money. They don't give you an edge in any game. You know, they're just on your profile to show you what you've accomplished. And you can let other people see it too, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. It has no real-world effect. It's just for you. So, if you don't want them, ignore them. But if you want that extra drive to play through a game a certain way, or if you want that extra little feel-good effect by doing a certain thing in a game that you already loved, but you just find it hard to make time for, like, it just provides those benefits in a way that is really obvious, you know? All the other consoles already have them. Steam already has them. Any other way that you play a video game, you have achievements. All of the cross-platform games that are on the Switch have achievements built in that you unlock if you play them on any other console. So it's just Nintendo that's holding out, and there's no reason for it. Even on the Switch, in Hyrule Warriors, which I talked about earlier, there's a couple things you can do in the game that will give you like an accolade award type thing. So they understand the idea of achievements, they just haven't implemented them. But with the Switch, the first one, you finally have a profile now. You have your Nintendo Online profile, it's tied to your console, or it's not tied to your console rather. It's like you sign up on the website and you use it on your console and it's tied to like your shop purchases and stuff like that. But if you get a new console, you carry the profile with you. It persists. Your purchase history is there. Your friend list is there. So, they've got the first step. They can do achievements now because they tie to your profile and we've already established a profile. It's there. It's built. We have the groundwork. So, one thing I really hope, and you can tell because I've ranted on this way longer than anything else, is that they would put those achievements on the new console. It's stupid that they don't have them. They need to add them in. Just do it, Nintendo. Just stop being dumb and just give us the thing that every other console already has. Yeah, I don't know. I think that might be all that I really, really want. Realistically, I'm sure they're going to announce a bunch of other stuff. You know, they're probably going to announce a bunch of third-party things, some of which will be pretty and cool. But I'm going to be honest with you here, and this goes back to what I was just saying. When there's a cross-party thing, I don't buy it on the Switch. I get it on the Xbox or the PlayStation. And one of the main reasons is they have achievements. If I'm going to play the same game either way and get the same experience regardless, I'm going to play it on the console that also gives me that achievement because it gives me just that extra little motivation to play. It's just, that is how it is. So, you know, any third-party stuff they mention or cross-platform stuff they mention, I'm not going to care. It's not going to excite me because I'm not going to buy it on the Switch. Also, They'll probably give us a port of Skyrim, because of course they will, because it's been on every other console. Why wouldn't it be on the Switch too? And I don't care about that either. What else might they announce? Maybe a new Kirby. That could be fun. Although I really feel like Kirby's dropped off ever since Crystal Nards. And I know it's called Crystal Shards, but if you were alive when it came out, and you were of the age that would be playing video games when the N64 was in production, you called it Crystal Nards because that was funny at the time. You know, that was peak comedy. Like, calling that Crystal Nards when we were, like, teenagers, oh my god. Instant laugh from everyone. So that's what the game's called now. Like, I'm sorry, that's the law. That's just how it is. I can't change it. I'm not going to break the law. We'll maybe see another Donkey Kong Country remake, spin-off, continuation, sequel, whatever it is. I don't even know how many there are now. There's a bunch. The 3 on Super Nintendo are the only ones that matter, but we'll probably get more. And then I think the big thing is seeing what gimmicks we get. I think as far as the hardware is concerned, the main thing is we know that the Joy-Cons double as mice now. So I'm sure we'll get some sort of game that's going to introduce the gimmick, because there's always one of those. On every console where they have a hardware gimmick, because Nintendo can't just give us a straightforward console anymore, they always have to have a game to go with it to show you, hey, here's this dumb thing we have, and this game justifies its existence. So they'll have that here too. If they're smart, and if they want to make some good money off the gimmick, the tie-in game for the mouse gimmick will be a remake of Mario Paint. Or Mario Paint 2. Just more features. That kind of thing. Like, that would be smart. If they do a Mario Paint... Jesus, I've forgotten how to talk. Being with no power makes you a little weird in the head. More so than normal. But no, if they had Mario Paint 2, people would lose their collective minds. You know, I know people today that still use the sound mixer to create music in Mario Paint. And, you know, if you've watched Angry Video Game Nerd, Mike Matei created a bunch of art cards in Mario Paint. I don't think they were the main art cards used for the episodes, but, in one of the episodes it showed him doing them. So, it was always a powerful tool back then, and what you could do with it was crazy. So if they had a new one with modern technology and capabilities, it would blow people's minds, and they'd go nuts for it. So that's something we might see, and that would be pretty cool. But I don't know, I still could do without the gimmicks. But yeah, overall, I think that's enough. I've talked for way too long as it is, and, you know, I have to go get back to sitting on my other couch in a dark room and staring at a wall. So I can't just stay here and talk to you people all night. But I'm looking forward to the Switch 2 announcement and seeing what we see. I will react to it that day. I'm not going to stream it because I can barely get my capture card to cooperate with me. There's no way in hell I'm going to get a streaming platform and all of that stuff to work in conjunction. I'm incapable. That won't work. But I will react to it and then post it immediately, because I'm going to want to talk about it. You know, when we see what we actually see, I'm sure I'm going to have thoughts, just like every other person on the internet. And plus, we all but know they're going to talk about Mario Kart 9, and this is obviously the go-to YouTube channel for Mario Kart content, so I have to talk about it. So, yeah. I don't know if I'll release another video in between now and then. I think it's going to depend on if I get electricity back in my house sometime soon. But either way, I should have it back by then, and I will review that. So if I don't see you before then, I'll see you then. And that's it. Okay, bye.